Welcome into another edition of Ringside Review. Today I'm joined alongside once again by Matt Colpitts here. We're going to talk Monday Night Raw, one of the, in my eyes, best Monday Night Raws we've had since the Elimination Chamber. A lot of fleshing out for stories. We also had some stuff we're going to touch on quickly on SmackDown before we get into the thick of things, but Matt, thank you once again for joining me. We're going to start with the SmackDown talk quickly before we dive into Cena Rhodes 3. I just wanted to get your opinion on this because this is something we've talked about a lot on the show prior to you coming on here, and I want to see where your head's at with this. I initially was not a fan of this triple threat. This past Friday, Punk, Rollins, Roman contract signing, Roman giving CM Punk his main event, Punk alluding to the fact that that is not the favor he's looking for from Paul Heyman, Seth Rollins, as the kids are saying these days, crashing out. There is a lot going on in this all. I want to ask you what you think about this match being the main event of night one, but also what your thoughts are on CM Punk's favor from Heyman. I'll give you mine just because this is kind of where I've been. I think it leads with CM Punk asking Heyman to be in his corner at WrestleMania. That feels like a tipping point for Roman Reigns and is like the cherry on top at this point. But I want to hear from you. Thoughts on the main event and also the favor itself from Punk.
Yes, so right off the bat, I am not surprised that this is a main event. I say a because we know nowadays we got two main events at WrestleMania. However, I do think it was just time that CM Punk gets it. And I feel like the giveaway is that Roman Reigns is in this match. I saw a graphic not too long ago that Roman Reigns is now going to be at 10 main events, I believe. Rollins, I believe, is at 4. Punk, this will be his first. And with that being said, is Roman Reigns. It's 3 of WWE's biggest stars. I was not surprised this is going to main event. I know a lot of people were fighting for the women's triple threat to main event, or obviously Jey Uso and Gunther, who we'll talk about later. But yeah, I'm not surprised this would have been my pick. As for the favor, I am all in on the feud that we're going to talk about next, Cena and Cody. I do not want this favor to be Punk inserting himself into one of these title matches. If he does, let it be the Jey Uso match. I want Cena and Cody to have their time. I think that is very much the story going into this year's WrestleMania. So if CM Punk does have a favor, I'm hoping it's what you said. I'm hoping it is that he's just trying to bring Paul Heyman back to his side. He's just, I feel like that's the only thing really tying Punk and Roman in the storyline is the fact that Paul Heyman is in play. And I mean, at the end of the day, he's getting his main event. He can bring Paul Heyman back. I feel like that is enough to satisfy CM Punk. But I'm still sticking on what I stood by last week. I'm going to say and predict that this match ends with Rollins leaving with Paul Heyman.
I know. That's the one thing I can't get out of my head now since I've seen that start to get spin around the internet is just what a thing it would be if Seth Rollins, acting the way he's been acting with this whole entire situation, being the guy, the architect, the mastermind kind of guy to ultimately pull off the biggest heist that you could in this match, and that is taking the service of Paul Heyman away from both Punk and Roman. It would be incredible. But yeah, I'm all in on the main event. Again, this was something I wasn't really in for, but they've done a great job of fleshing this out, and I think that Friday Night SmackDown segment really solidified it in my eyes. This is deserving of a night one main event. You have the star power. You have the story being told now. They for me, and I think it says a lot for me because I, again, did not want this, and here I am just a few weeks down the road now, and I think I want it more than anything else at this point. So I love what they're doing. I think they've hit a home run with this one. Now, you alluded to Cena and Cody, so I'm curious to see where this goes here. For Monday Night Raw, Cody Rhodes, John Cena 3, this is potentially the last face-to-face until WrestleMania. There is a piece of me that feels like maybe there's one final face-to-face we get that's just not scheduled at this point here, but maybe it is the last time we see these two go head-to-head, and my goodness, was it a way to cap off things if that is the last time we see them go to WrestleMania? I mean, both sides just going shot for shot, shooting from the hip. We had John Cena, who basically acknowledged the fact that he buried, instead of talent, it was mediocrity in his eyes. And this is where I needed the Cena line to go because I wasn't buying into what he was saying at first. It didn't sound authentic, but now we're getting corporate Cena, the business side of Cena. It wasn't me burying talent. I was burying people that were not supposed to be in that position. So it gives you that heel aspect from where he's coming from, calling Rhodes a Nepo baby, pointing out the overpolishment of Cody Rhodes. Rhodes did a great job firing back as well with some of the things he said. I just want to get your thoughts because this was the segment everyone needed in my eyes. And I think the vast majority of the internet wrestling community agrees. And we are now set up for one hell of a main event for WrestleMania 41 on night 2.
So, as I said, this is absolutely what I am buying into. I mentioned it last week when I came on, but these are my two favorites. Cena was my childhood hero. Cody, I'm all in on the Cody Rhodes arc as we speak. But I did say that this is what we needed. We needed something where Cena could just finally lay in and kind of bury Cody, as he alluded to. And I think Cody also held his own. I think Cody had some firepower. I loved that they just made it real from the start. Right off the bat, Cody was like, you know what? I already know what you're going to say. You're going to talk about AEW. You're going to talk about Stardust. You're going to talk about the I don't belong in the main event. You're going to talk about the Lisp, for example. Everything. I love that he just, kind of took the bullets from Cena's gun. And with that being said, Cena still was able to find a way to still kind of just drill home the legendary way that Cena does. And I think both of these guys came out looking incredibly strong, incredibly full of momentum heading into this match. And I'm even more bought into this than I was prior. I think is what we needed. We needed the intensity. That's what's been lacking these past 2 weeks, where Cena comes out, complains, whines, walks away, while Cody just says, oh, who are you? Like, you need to find who John Cena is. I think this was the turning point. People are buying in. And like you said, I would like to see if it's going to be more of a build, or maybe if The Rock's going to come back and that's going to kind of be how we carry the build, or if they're really just going to have Cody Rhodes use some promos to the crowd for another 2 to 3 weeks until we get to WrestleMania. I'm interested in that, but I'm 100% all on board with this story. The match I'm looking forward to most at WrestleMania, and I loved it. I thought both came out looking incredible.
Yeah, I've got to say, Cody Rhodes really did a great job hanging in there with Cena. If there is one thing that rings true about John Cena, whether you enjoyed him or not during his entire run, he is one of the best, up there with guys like The Rock, Stone Cold, CM Punk I have up there, as well as just like mic talkers and it's clear, like, he's not scripted, he's just shooting from the hip. And Cody, the fact that he was able to just pull the gun from his own holster and do the same, like, it was beautiful. And we had such great back and forth. And there was one thing that John Cena pointed out in this that I really want to just touch on for a quick second here, was John Cena alluding to the fact that Cody Rhodes is hiding who he truly is. And it was kind of like a bit of a foreshadowing in my eyes. The internet's talked about it a lot. I know I've thought about it a lot. I'm sure you have as well. The eventual heel turn of Cody Rhodes is going to be magnificent. And it's one of those things that I wonder if this somehow, some way, if it leads to Cena winning, if in some way they find a way for this to turn Cody into that heel. I know there's too much money to be made with Cody as a face right now, and the kids are just gobbling up his merchandise, and it's no secret. Everyone knows that is the big reason why Cena never turned, and why when I predicted the Cena heel turn, I laid it out. You don't need Cena for the money anymore and for the kids. That's what Cody's for. So I know that that's going to be long down the road, but the foreshadowing of Cody's heel turn and Cena telling everyone, this is not who you really are. It reminds me of when Bray Wyatt said it to him during that cinematic match in WrestleMania 36 during the COVID era. I'm so ready for that. And then on top of that, we even kind of got a glimpse of it, because this was the most fiery we've seen Cody, from him referencing Vince McMahon being the guy that chose Cena, not the fans like they chose Cody, or just the way he pointed out the fact that John Cena didn't leave WWE better than he found it. John Cena joined WWE in one of the hottest eras of wrestling, or even maybe more so on like the tail end of it, but still in a very hot era, whereas when he started to leave full time, 2016 WWE was not by any stretch of the imagination the best era of all. It was probably one of the worst around that time, where he started to go more part-time. So, we're getting so much from this here. And at this point now, it leaves me just wondering, how do we get from 3 weeks out from WrestleMania to WrestleMania without having one more face-to-face? How do we not get at least an appearance from The Rock, who got mentioned by Cody in that promo? The Rock has to show up, right? I can't be alone on that. And also on top of that, we've seen Rock just announce on social media days before. Like when they were in New Orleans and they announced WrestleMania, 42 next year? Yes. WrestleMania is in New Orleans. The Rock made an appearance, an announcement two nights before or so. We've got to get The Rock one last time or something to explain his part in all this, correct? Am I wrong on that?
No, 100%. I feel like at the end of the day, the whole Final Boss gimmick, you were always just wondering, what's the deal with, him, Roman Reigns, we're going to get that. Then to have the Cena heel turn with the shock factor. it's been the one thing that's kind of been unaddressed for these 3 weeks. This is the first time we're hearing The Rock's name even just mentioned. So I do think it's a huge missing part of the story. Is it more of just the general, like, Cena was just kind of embracing Hollywood Cena, and that's why Travis Scott and Rock were in the ring in the first place, to kind of represent Hollywood? Or does The Rock play a bigger role in this story? Obviously, him and Cody have been building a story and absolutely just hinting, alluding when Rock gives him a gift the night after WrestleMania 40 to just some big payoff. And I feel like we still have not gotten that just yet. So I am hopeful as a fan that The Rock is coming back to help with this build to WrestleMania 41. And he has to have an appearance at the event itself. Otherwise, I feel like that would definitely be a big miss in this storyline.
Yeah, it feels like it would just leave a gaping hole in the entire story. So if we don't, like, The Rock just has to make an appearance at some point. And I'm going forward with the idea that we get by the way, maybe 7 nights out for 6 nights out from Mania, 3 nights out from Mania, whatever it may be, whatever show they choose to do it on, Rock's got to make an appearance. He's got to address his involvement somehow, some way, even if it is at WrestleMania in some capacity. I don't know how you could really do that, but we need Rock and his involvement to be answered in this all. And the fact that we haven't really gotten much of an explanation as to what he has to do with this whole thing is just, I feel like at this point we're going to get the answer, because you and I just last week were talking about things and we got a ton of answers this week about it. So it's coming, but I feel like a kid again. I'm 29 years old and I'm talking about wrestling to people like I'm 13 years old again. And I cannot be more enamored by wrestling right now. And that leads me to the next thing that we got to discuss here. Jey Uso and Gunther. I have ragged on this build basically since it kicked off after the Royal Rumble. I was very optimistic when they went with Jey Uso. Maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe this is something we didn't all know we wanted to see, that by the end of it, we'll be like, wow, that was awesome. And then that first week, I was kind of like, oh, okay, not great. And then from that point forward, I have fallen so off on the bandwagon on this, but we finally got what I needed personally to invest in this rivalry, and that was Gunther being Gunther, going back to his days as Walter in NXT, the dominant force of nature, doing heel-like things, beating down on guys, zip-tying Jey to the ropes, and making him watch as he beat down his brother senseless in the middle of the ring. Gunther came off as the monster that I personally see him as and who I need him to be for this match to be something I'm willing to invest in. How are you feeling about this build? Because you and I haven't discussed this yet. I want to hear your thoughts from all the way up to this point now and maybe from that moment going forward. How are you looking at this?
I agree that, first off, talking about shock factor as we have all day, Jey winning the Rumble, number one instance of shock factor. You did not expect that.
Oh, absolutely.
So now you know that Jey is going to face, eventually we find out it's Gunther at WrestleMania. With that being said, I do think the build has fallen flat. Jey's getting all this criticism on Twitter, online, just shooting this match down. We have seen it on Raw, so it's not like it's the first time ever type of match. But I always wanted to kind of believe in it. I am a huge Jey fan. I see why he's so popular. He's such a merch seller. He's up there with Cody Rhodes, probably doing similar, if not more, merch numbers depending on the day and week. But this build feels like it didn't really take off until last week when Jimmy, his brother, got involved. That is because I feel like when you make these storylines personal, that's when it starts to click. It's what we saw with Rey Mysterio and Dom Mysterio, and like Dom invaded the Mysterio house on Thanksgiving. It's what we've seen in the past, way back when Triple H and Randy Orton were feuding, and then Stephanie McMahon got involved. It's always when you bring in the personal ties where a storyline really starts to sell, and I think adding Jimmy has really worked. Now, 2 weeks ago when Jimmy first got involved, I was actually disappointed. They were in Scotland, so everyone was thinking it was going to be Joe Hendry as the mystery partner to Jey Uso, but now I feel like with these payoffs and the answers we're getting for the storyline, it makes 100% sense as to why Jimmy has been inserted into the story, what his purpose has served, kind of just to get you emotionally tied for Gunther to just become Walter once again, an absolute monster, and for Jey to just kind of get that like emotional underdog, like you just need him to get that revenge on Gunther for attacking his own family in blood. So I think they've really turned it around. They have seen the criticism. They even played into it with Jey making so many mistakes. The botched dive out of the ring, the slip when he goes to hit the spear. All of a sudden, I feel like the story for this match has completely flipped upside down, and I'm all in as well. They're taking the criticisms that you're getting about this WrestleMania build for each one of these stories that we've discussed for these matches, and they're just completely proving us wrong. All the criticisms that we have on Twitter and online, and we're like, this makes no sense with Punk being in a triple threat. Makes no sense why Cena as a face is facing Cody Rhodes, why Jey is facing Gunther. I feel like they're really just kind of shutting us up, and Triple H knows what he's doing. He's reading and listening to what the fans are saying, and this storyline is a great example of that.
I'd have to agree, and you know what? That brings us to the final discussion point here, that we have the Women's World title picture as well. One of those situations where you were kind of wondering, where is this all going? How are we doing this? And I feel like that's happened a lot in this build-up. And like you said, Triple H doing an excellent job of reading the room, or the cyberspace, I guess, in this instance here, where we had this surprise Iyo versus Rhea Ripley matchup following the Elimination Chamber that I was left wondering, what are we doing with this? Why is this happening? To Iyo winning the championship, to concerns about her being a third wheel, to some of that does still kind of live in the back of my mind, but it's now turned into a Rhea Ripley desperate to make sure she's still competing for the championship. She feels she should not have lost at WrestleMania, and to the point where I was worried that they were going with like a gullible like face or tweener angle with her, but now it's clear that she's just willing to take all competitors, no fear, and now she's pulling threats left and right. We saw the post-match interview with Jackie Redmond following Raw. At this point now, I'm basically left wondering, because Bianca Belair, while technically screwing them both in the matchup, obviously hurt Rhea more because Rhea now does not have an opportunity into the WrestleMania match for the championship. What is next? Does Rhea Ripley force the hand of Adam Pearce? Does she have to go after Iyo to force Iyo to hand her the opportunity to have a matchup? Like that's really the question I have now, and I'm not worried so much as to Iyo getting left out. I'm more so just left with the questions now. How are we getting there? And I'm, again, excited, looking forward to it. How are we getting there? What do you think happens next week? How do we get to this triple threat? Because that's what everyone seems to think it's happening.
That's the money question, and to be honest with you, I have no idea. I feel like that is where Triple H wants you to kind of be with this feud. You all know what's coming. You know the payoff is going to be this triple threat at Mania, which that alone, I have no idea who's winning with this storyline and what's going on. But I don't know. That's the honest truth, and I think that's what they want. They want you to just know what's coming, but have no idea what road is going to lead to that. I thought this match yesterday with Bianca as a special guest referee kind of ended as we expected. We didn't expect a clean winner or a clean victory. But I don't know where it goes next. Is Rhea going to target Iyo and try to injure her? Is she going to try to target Bianca and injure her? What's the whole deal? Like, is the contract ever going to come back into play that Rhea just kind of forced herself into and sign? Or was this it? She kind of signed herself into this opportunity, lost, that's it. Maybe they do go into WrestleMania literally marketing Bianca versus Iyo, and that's it. And then maybe she'll insert herself some way during the night or just interfere. I believe I kind of referred to that last week. But I'm just not sure, and that's the honest truth. I love it. I love riding this roller coaster ride for the storyline. I'm also just as bought into this storyline and could have seen it main eventing just as much as the other triple threat that we discussed. But personally, I don't even know what my prediction would be other than it's going to lead to a triple threat, and I'm excited to see how it gets there.
And I've got to say, Monday Night Raw, WWE, forget Monday Night Raw, WWE must-see television right now as the road to WrestleMania continues to unfold, and it feels like it's getting better each and every single week. But Matt, once again, thank you for joining me today on another edition of Ringside Review. We're fresh out of time. Make sure you all tune in again next week to talk some more wrestling with Matt and I.